Okay, so today I'm on Shane, so I'm going to talk a little bit about riding young horses and talk a little bit about rockies. So if you watch the video with Zorro, it's the same thing. My reins are short. I don't have the colored reins on though, but my hands are like 4 or 5 inches in front of the horn. My hands are a little wide, so if the horse does something, I can pull out instead of pulling back, because sometimes when they get scared, they go backwards, so you don't want to pull backwards. That will make them back up more. So what you're trying to do on a young horse is give them the courage that you're going to take care of them and that you're going to be the leader, because young horses, even though they might be quiet, they do need someone to help them out in times when they're nervous. So you'll see he's trying to look around, and I just kind of straightened his head. I was like, no, I'm in charge. Let's do this. So Shane's not a spooky horse, but you know, if you sit there and don't do anything, he could turn into a spooky one, because he needs some confidence, because even though he's young, he's looking to someone to be their leader. He follows just fine. He'll go in the front just fine with other horses, but alone, because again, he's only had a couple years of it, so he needs someone who's going to help him some. Okay, so the goats are on the right. I know where everything is here, so it's nice when you have these trails. And he's a little iffy. He just gave a big sigh, so that's a good sign, because we haven't been down the road in a while. But I know once he gets out here, he's going to be fine. So let's talk about rockies. A lot of rockies have a little bit of a shorter stride. Occasionally they're mixed with something and they have a longer stride, but it's usually shorter. And that's why people like them. They think they're more sure-footed. But these guys, just like the other horses, can be trippy if they're not paying attention, or they go too slow and fall asleep on their feet, because that seems to be a scenario with gaited horses, that they all seem to fall asleep on their feet. He's looking for the goats. And I'm like, oh, don't bother with the goats. We got stuff to do. All right, so back to young horse for a second. So if they keep looking around, give them something to do. So I'm going to leg yield back and forth. Now I'm walking out a little bit. You'll see him shaking his head, because we're kind of flat walking down this road. I'm not going real slow. I don't like to go super slow, especially if the horse is looking around. I want to give them jobs to do and move their feet, because then they're going to feel more comfortable. So you'll see kind of a little hop in his step. You'll see him shaking his head, because we're more at a flat walk. Okay, once he stops looking around, then I'll stop giving him jobs. So I'm just leg yielding. There's a car coming, so we'll see where the car's going. And now I'm just going to serpentine a little bit. Okay, so rockies are great horses. They're nice, calm temperament horses. They come in different colors, but the most typical one is a chocolate with a flaxen mane. He doesn't have the flaxen mane. Some of those rockies, do they have eye problems? Yes, they do, but they can be just fine. You just want to know if they have an eye issue and just to follow it along. So there's cows on the right, and again, they weren't there before, so Shane might look at them, although I know he's fine with cows. And so it's a good thing to check their eyes. I've had to check all my horses, so I always make sure when it's a rocky, they check their eyes well. Everybody talks about that silver gene, and I've talked to a lot of people, and some people still breed them a double silver and say they're fine, but that's up to you. So it's always a good thing to check their eyes. Just no recessive genes, things come with it. Pretty colors come with it, but just like teacup dogs, sometimes, you know, there's issues going on because it's a recessive gene, not a dominant one. So if you get one and you got that flaxen mane, just have a vet check and have its eyes checked. And then just be aware, it doesn't mean you have to pass on it. You just want to know how it sees and how you can help it. And is it going to get worse, or it's just going to stay the same for the rest of his life? And that's how he's been seeing the whole time. So he might be fine. These rockies, a lot of times, sorry, he's looking at the goats. See the goats? These rockies, now I'm distracted, can have a flat walk. They can have a foxtrot. Some of them have a running walk. And their gait, though, is a racking gait, or what people call single foot. You know, or saddle gait. It has many different names. So they usually can do it slow. So you could call it saddle gait, because that's a slow rack, or you could call it a slow rack. You'll see I'm still serpentining as I'm going. And then as they get better and stronger, they should have a faster rack. So it's kind of like the Tennessee Walker. There's a flat walk and then a running walk. So the rocky can have a saddle gait, and then it can have a rack. But it can also do many other things. So it just depends what you like and what you want. So as I've been working with them, I see some just gait, which is awesome. And I see most trot and some pace. But I don't see as many pacey ones as trotty ones. Due to that, they can usually canter really well. Due to that, they'll try to canter instead of gait because it's easier for them. And then due to the trottiness, you usually have to ride them more with their head up when you're trying to get that racking gait. This is hard because a lot of Western people, or people who come from quarter horses and are used to the horse's head down like this, that's how you want to ride them, right? Because that's what you're used to. And of course, it's a pretty frame. It always looks pretty. But when you do that with a rocky and it's on a trotty side, you make it hard trot. And then all of a sudden your horse doesn't gait. And you're like, what are you talking about? These horses aren't smooth. He's just trotting. Why did I spend so much money on this? Because they're a hot item and they are going for a lot of money. So if you want one, you got to be aware of that too. So when you ride them, you usually got to ride them with a higher headset. If it's lower, they're probably going to foxtrot, and then they might hit a hard trot as you go faster, or they might just go into a canter and tell you, hey, I can't go any faster. Well, they're lying. You usually just got to bring their head up, sit back more in a chair seat, hit the gas, get after them, and you'll get that gait. If they keep trotting, a lot of times if you just bring their head up higher, tap them with a stick a couple of times, or your leg, they will go into that gait. And as soon as you get it, if you haven't gotten it before, then you stop, tell them they're a good horse, give them a nice big scratch or a little cookie, and then you just repeat it over and over. Pacey ones usually have to bring their head down, but some of you have tucked their noses in so far that they can pace with their head down. So those horses usually got to do these serpentines and lateral work and move their shoulders and push their shoulders back and forth every time they go out of gait. When they stay in gait and it's pretty smooth, then you want to stop and tell them they're a good horse and repeat it over and over again. The ones that are trotty are going to get more of a true rack. The ones that are on the pacey side might get more of a step pace, but it's still smooth, and in time you might get it so it's even smoother and it's a true rack. Okay? So those are your rockies. So the good things about them, they're pretty, they're calm, their gaits are fun, but that racking gait, they usually can't do up steep hills. So they will usually canter, but cantering is fun, right? Because you want to know what you're getting into. They can usually go pretty fast down hills, especially if they're on the trotty side, but uphill you might end up cantering to keep up with your other gaited friends. There's fast ones, there's slow ones. They have not been abused as much as the walking horses have, so you're less likely to get one that's been beat up or abused, but it is still possible. I've still heard of bad rockies out there, that have major issues because somebody beat them along the way in their training, so be careful of that. There are hotter ones, so when you're watching them online and you think you're going to buy one, see if they're touching them with their legs. If they're not touching them with their legs and you get on and touch them with your legs, that horse might go on fire and run down the road racking. So you want to know that as well. See if they're pushing the horse or they have their legs completely off. Because if you're used to riding Western, if you get on and put a loose floppy rein and kick that horse, well, they might go to the next county before you stop. So they're ridden different, and you need to be aware of that. So we have a car zooming up behind us. You don't want to ride them like this until you really know them. You can, but see, he's looking all over the place because he hasn't been here. Now we're wobbling around. So it's better to ride them on a shorter rein until you're really aware of who they are and what they are. If you like to go fast, don't go fast all the time, because if you ever go to sell that horse, it's going to be hot and harder to sell. So it's good to go slow, do some fast stuff, and then go back to slow, right? Cracks me up when they do stuff like that. Now that's just a baby horse thing. He's like, what? We haven't been here in a while. No big deal. Horses are not machines. I'm going to say that because people keep acting like they are. Okay, so what else about rockies? So let me show you his gait. So this is just a slow trail walk. Okay, now some rockies go like this all the time. Shane kind of did this in the beginning, but I get bored because I'm used to walking horses. So I want to walk out. So this is usually the speed I go, and this is a flat walk, and he can do this faster and he can do it a little slower. Okay. Now he's on the trotty side. The trotty ones, you might feel a little hop in their step once in a while, and people always think, oh, they're lame. I go, no, they're trying to do that little canter step. Don't let that freak you out, okay? So keep your reins short. It's okay if their head's down when you're doing this. You just don't want it down to the ground. Now, if you want a rocking gait, you're going to pick their head up, especially if they're trotty. The incline makes them trottier, but the hard footing helps them. So if I wanted him to rack, I'm going to lift his head up and I'm going to cluck twice. I like doing that. That's my signal for him. So then I hit the leg. His head's way up above my horn. It's kind of my chest level. Now it's hard. Going uphill makes him trottier, so he's going to want to canter instead because that's more towards the trot. But if you want to condition your horse, you want to get him used to this. If you just have shoes on the front, that makes them trottier. So that's something you have to compensate for too. And if you're doing this in the arena, have deep footing, that makes them trotty. So you might have to have their head up more. Okay, I'm going to half halt, push with my leg. Half halt, push with my leg. Half halt as I push with my leg. Now I'm going to come up to this speed bump, which is you saw me go over it with Zorro. Now Shane's more on the trotty side. He picks his feet up nicely and he short strided, so I didn't have to half halt or really do anything crazy except not rack over it because he just did it fine. Okay, so this is your flat walk. Now I'm going to sit back, pick his head up, cluck twice. So if you cluck twice, don't pick his head up, he's just going to foxtrot instead. So if you see the horse is starting to go bouncy, try to pick their head up and sit back more. The more you lean forward on a trotty horse, the more it's going to want to trot. So this can feel like he doesn't gait. He might not be doing it right, especially if he did gait before and there's video of it. That's good. See, they're shutting the door. Now I go back to young horse. So if there's things going on while I'm talking to you, but my energy is calm and I'm dominant, and you got to give some guidance. I don't expect a 6-year-old horse to be perfect out here because that's just insanity. He might be great. He might be great a lot of the time. But every once in a while, they're going to need your help because that's what young horses, just like children, need. They need someone for guidance and to tell them when they're doing stuff wrong and to tell them when they're doing stuff right. Like, good job, Shane. That was a good job. You're so good. Yeah. But if he does wrong or he's standing there pawing or doing something, I'm going to get after him because that's a behavior we don't want, right? But all young horses, like young children, can have temper tantrums and sit there and have a fit when they're tied up. And you just get after them. You're like, nope, wait till we get home, Susie. You'll see what fun is. So same. The horses are pawing, you get after them. Now, why is he spooking? See, now he spooked. He isn't spooked at anything. But it could be something up here. Remember, my horse is attracted. His eyes are attracted to movement, which I can't see. I just see 2 black cars and nothing else. He saw something that made him think I should get out of here, and then he goes, oh, it's okay. That's a normal thing for any horse, okay? They're not dead, and they're not machines. So you just got to be aware of that. Is that a bad young horse? No. Now, see, I didn't even see that tractor up there. I thought the thing was behind the cars, so he saw something I didn't. There's a green and red tractor that's over there, and that means it blends in because remember, horses don't see green and red really well. So that was probably moving in the tree, and he's like, is that a monster? And I was like, where? And then he goes, oh, no, it's not. I'm okay. Now we got the pony on the right as well. So we'll see if he comes out. She has been over here, but I don't know. It's probably been a month or something since he's been over here. That guy's like, she's going to ride up here all day long. So here comes the little pony. Shane's looking, but he's not scared. I just have one hand because I'm trying to turn towards him. Shane's like, can we visit? I go, no. No, we're just trying. Okay, so now going downhill, when I was on Zorro, the walking horse, I was half halting. I could just let go of my reins with Shane, except he'd wobble off and go for the grass. But he collects himself very well because he's on the trotty side, but so is Zorro, but Zorro's a walking horse and this is a rocky. So shorter stride. So better on, steep terrain, the Rockies are going to be, but you're not going to be able to gait fast because they do a racking gait. So with your walking horse, your foxtrotter, when the hills are steep, like going downhill, you can take a foxtrotter pretty fast because they can gait down the hill. They gait up the hill, but not as fast as the Tennessee walking horse. The Tennessee walking horse can really engage themselves going up the hills, And when you ride them correctly, they can do that flat walk and they're running a walk up the hill. Okay? And they cover a lot of ground, so they may get up the hill and you're on the rocky and they're all waiting for you like, what are you doing? That's why bigger stride can engage itself and your horse is unable to do that. But you can canter up the hill and that's how you can catch up to them. Okay? So just know you might not be able to gait up steep hills. You might if that horse just gaits, but if he's more on the trotty side, you might just end up cantering to catch up with your friends or just doing your flat walk or letting that horse foxtrot up the hill, which is fine if you're not showing them. Okay? All right, now back to the Rockies calmness. So as with all gaited horses, most of the horses are not trained very well. And they're catching on now. More Western and natural horseman people are picking it up and they might put the basic training on them, but a lot of times they're not taking them out on the real trails because they've seen horses $20,000 or more. And they got all the arena basics, which is great. Every horse should anyhow, but they don't have the trail basics. Or they're not gaiting them correctly and you don't realize it, but they're like pacing down the trail and then you buy a $20,000 pacing horse. So know what you're looking at. It should be a racking gait. But otherwise, if you go get them from somewhere in the Midwest, sometimes the horse has been saddled and ridden down the trail and that's all it knows. Doesn't know how to back up, doesn't know how to stand still for mounting because they just put their foot on and get on, and doesn't know how to side pass leg yields, all that stuff. Doesn't understand the bit. That's why they got a big bit to control it, because they never taught the horse correctly. Okay, so if you got one of those, you just got to go back to all the basics, teach that horse all the arena work. So then you can put it in a different bit so you don't have such a big bit in its mouth, and then you can control it and the horse understands when you ask it to move over. Or cars coming, you can push it over. The horse is having a fit and it's swinging his hind end out and trying to kick a bike, you can push his hind end over, so it gives you more control. So a lot of them are not trained all the way. Okay, here we go. So let's do our little saddle gait. So I'm going to push him. Now that's just my signal. Everybody's signal can be a little bit different. So you want to ask whoever you're buying it from, how'd you get them to do that racking gait? What's your cue? You paid for the horse, they should tell you. Okay? Everybody's spooky on this turn. Now you'll see he's trying to do a little hoppy step because he's trying to canter. Like, yeah, you want to canter? It's easier than going up this hill since I'm trotty and I'd rather canter because it's easier. They're always about easier. And I'm like, no, we want to work on your racking gait and we're going to engage your back end and you're gonna do it. Good boy. Now going out, they can always be a little bouncier. Going home, they're usually smooth as silk because they want to go home, right? So if you're having problems gait towards home, but tie them up when you get there or ride them in the arena until you get their gait down. Okay? So Rockies are great horses. And what else can we say about you guys? Oh, let me talk about papers and non-papered horses. So grade horses, that's what they call them, or unregistered horses. People like papers because it tells you what the horse is, tells you their age, and then you know it. But lots of people lose papers over time. You do need them if you're going to show. They're helpful if you're going to sell the horse. But papers do not make a great horse. They can have great breeding and still be a not so good horse. Because even though it might have the great sire, sometimes it doesn't always come out well. And sometimes it's the mare that the sire was with. So it's helpful, but just know, just like people in your family, there might be good ones and there might be bad ones. And there might be good looking ones and ones that are not so good looking, and ones that are athletic and not so athletic, because even though it's the same family, they all get a little bit different genes, don't they? So it's the same with the Rockies. So when I'm buying horses, Shane here is not papered. I could care less. All I'm looking for is safe horses, good temperaments, good on trail, not reactive, and good gait. I can make their gaits great. I can make them a great trail horse. Okay? So if it's papered, that's fantastic. If it's not papered, I don't care. I vet check them all. So I verify their age, and you can verify if you have a good vet usually up to age 15. After that, it's kind of a little bit of a guessing game. But again, I don't care so much. People buying do, although they might not be able to ride. They're like, I want a papered horse, and I'm like, well, your horse wants somebody who can ride. Okay, so things that you think are important not are always the most important thing. People get in fights over grade horses and paper horses. Don't fight about it. If you want a papered horse, don't buy one unpapered and then try to get papers and DNA tested and all this crazy stuff. Just get a papered horse and move on. If you don't care and you just want a safe horse, you want to chase the dog, then you just get a safe horse and don't worry if your friends are telling you it needs to be papered or something. It doesn't. If they're younger, like they're 12 and under, tell them their age. You could even go on YouTube and you can probably do it yourself if you're good at it. Look, he's like, I'm going to chase you guys. Okay, so I'm going to let him go for a second. So see the soft little bounce? He went more towards a foxtrot there. That's why he's got the little soft bounce. And we're going uphill, so that makes him trottier. But if I lift his head way up, there you go, then it smooths way out. And I kind of lift it up, and my hands might stay there, but I'm not pulling on them. Okay. So these horses, if you're trying to work on the rack and gait, the best place to get it is if it's trotty, do it going downhill some, or on the flat, or a slight incline. The bigger the incline, the more it's going to make your horse trotty. So decline makes it pacey, so if it's trotty, that'll help to get the gait. But you'll see in the videos, when they're showing these horses, they aren't showing them racking up big steep hills, are they? No, they're showing them on the road, flying down the road, because that's where they're going to gait the best, and it's on the hard ground. So if you're going to ride in deep footing, and you're going to ride at the beach all the time, you have one of these horses on the trotty side, they're most likely going to foxtrot, or they're going to flat walk, or they're going to canter. It's hard for them to do that rack and gait in that sand when they're on the trotty side. If they're on the pacey side, they can do a rack and gait all day long in that sand. So that's why it's important to know what you're buying, know where you're riding, and know what you need. And that's about all we have to say about that right now. You can come out. Thank you. Have a good one. She was nice. She was going to wait for me. And I'm like, no, she's got somewhere to go. Let her go. Okay. So if this horse was really bad, couldn't gait, then I might pick his head up. This is a little decline. Go down this hill. And make him go a little fast. There they are. She's back. So see, Shane's, a lot of these Rockies don't care about much. So the alpacas were talking to him, then he nickered, and then the horses talked to him. Oh, they got a scratching post. What horse wouldn't like that? Look at that, Shane. They got better parents than you do. Nice scratching post. So while he's looking at the alpaca, I'm going to give him a little treat. If you feed your horse treats, make sure you don't let them take it, grab it from your hand, keep it in a fist, and kind of tap them in the mouth if they're trying to grab at it, and don't open your hand until they're being good about it. So they're sneaking around the tree, so are we. So he has seen them before, but it's been a little while, and they had their fur or whatever they have back then, so they might look a little different to him. So same thing, my reins are short, I'm ready in case they do something stupid and make a weird noise. That scares my horse, because my horse is a young horse. That's what I expect. I don't expect him to be bomb-proof, and I would not sit here on a loose floppy rein. I'm here to help him. You guys are taking your time. Okay, you want another? So if they're being grabby, fist, I don't know if you can see this. And then open your hand. I don't think they're going to come over. Alright, well whatever. See you guys later. He doesn't care. We've seen him before. Let's just go back. Kentucky mountain horses are like Rockies, okay, but they come in different colors, and some of them will do a running walk or a foxtrot and a rack and gait. So Mr. Nichols is a Kentucky mountain horse, but he does a rocking gait and a flat walk. And he foxtrots on the trail. So I like all the gaits. You just want to know what they are so you know how to get them. Steeper terrain, do a flat walk or a foxtrot or a running walk. You can do the saddle gait, but again, it's a little harder on the horse. But the flat and the other stuff, pick the gait you want so you can get it consistently and know how to get it, what frame to put your horse in to get that gait. But the Kentucky mountain horses might be a little bit cheaper. I don't know right now. It just depends on the horse and its training and all of that. I'm going to tell you a story. So I have lots of people contact me looking for horses. And right now I'm going to talk about reputation. So I post all my horses, all the people who know me, send me their friends. But what their friends don't understand is we're not all the same. We don't all put the same training on the horse, right? We're all not honest in trying to help people. A lot of people are trying to just make money and survive, and they're not going to tell you everything about horses, or they think you should know it. So sometimes I get people, their friends send them, and I say, you just missed out on the horse. I contacted you about it, but you didn't respond, and now it's on hold. And they go, oh, do you have any other Palominos? Do you have any other Grays? Do you have any other big horse, small horse, blah, blah, blah? I said, not right now. I can find it if you wait, and then I'll let you know. And I'll send you everything I'm getting in, or what I know of other people that's good, or that I could train for you. And then they start doing this. Well, I saw this horse on the internet. I saw that horse on the internet. And I go, okay, that's good. And they go, well, what about that? And I go, do you want me to evaluate the horse? Do you want me to pay me to do that? No. Remember, people, this is my job. So I have to make money. I can't do everything for free. So I go, okay. I don't know how it is. I have no idea. But what the people don't understand is their friends send them to me because of my reputation, how I treat people, take care of people, and I'm honest. I try to tell you every good thing about the horse, but I try to tell you every bad thing I know about the horse. Each horse is different when it gets home with the people, right? Because you have different energy than me. But I try to tell them as much as I can and try to help them for the next, 20 years through that horse's life. If they have issues and if one day they need to sell that horse, I'd like to sell it. Because it was one of my horses, and I'm like nothing more than seeing them again and working with them again, like Zorro. Okay, so these people just start looking all over the place, thinking all us sellers are the same, and then they, get a horse from somebody else, and it hurts them, or something bad happens. Or they contact me later and they send it in for training, and I go, no wonder you got hurt. The horse is not trained. It doesn't know this, it doesn't know that, it's reactive. This horse was abused, this horse was blah, blah, blah. So when you're buying a horse, just know we're not all the same. And you might watch my videos and think, wow, they do a great job training gaited horses. And I'm like, no, they don't. So you got to know what you're getting into and make sure you have backup for people to help you. And when people do that for me and they don't listen to me when I say all horses are not the same, I just, and they're like, okay, and then they start showing their friends other things. I'm pretty much done with those people because it doesn't bother me. I'll help them if they need help later on, but I'm not going to chase them down trying to sell a horse. I'd rather sell it to someone who's waiting for a horse from me, or they understand all that I put into it. So see, Shane's screwing around while I'm talking. He's throwing his head a little bit. He's like, you're boring. So I'm going to go a little faster for a minute. So cluck. They do that little hoppy step. You just give a little half halt, sit back more. Now we're going downhill, so it's going to change a little bit. He's trying to get trotty and slow down, and I'm like, no, you were bored. You were throwing your head, so come on, let's do it. You be careful. Remember, I have good shoes on, which helps with traction. Okay, so now I'm going to slow down. But again, this is a young horse. They can get more impatient than the older ones. They can get more annoyed, but the only way they learn patience is by us showing them. If you're bored, you're being annoying, I'll give you something else to do. Okay. I forgot what I was talking about. Oh. So, when you buy a horse, it's always good to look up the person. Oops. Let's get out of the way. Look up their reputation, ask around, see what you know. You know, and some sellers, they'll sell good horses, and sometimes they'll sell not so good horses. Again, sometimes it wasn't their horses. All these horses, this one's mine, but not all the horses I sell are not mine. And I tell people, like, this is a consignment horse, but what that means is it's somebody else's horse that I'm training and selling for them, but you know, I'm most likely not going to have it 4 or 5 months or whatever. You know, it's going to be a couple weeks to a month, and I'm going to tell you everything I know about that horse, but it's not going to be like one of mine, and it still might be just as expensive because that's what that owner wants that horse to sell for. I can advise them, but that's about all I can do. Then it's up to them. So you just have to know that a lot of people are honest, but a lot of people are not honest, and you'll hear good stories. You'll hear good stories and you'll hear bad stories, but that's why you should ask around. And people will give you hints. You know, I've helped people with quarter horses, and there was this one really bad one, and I helped them bring the horse back. But I said, you know, this horse was way too much. You guys were a beginner. You vet checked it, right? And I said, yeah. And I said, did that vet do anything? Like, give you any inklings that something might be wrong? Because apparently the horse reared up during the vet check. And they said, yeah. He said, you sure you want this horse? And I said, do you see what he was saying? He was trying not to be bad for the buyer, but he was warning you. Okay, let's go faster. He was warning you. He was trying to tell you, like, this is not a good horse for you. But if you want it, that's not his job. His job is to just do the vet check. But he gave you a hint. You sure this is the horse you want? You sure this is the right one? Did you ride it a lot? Do you know what you're getting into? Some people do and some people don't. See, now he's trying to canter. So just half full. Still smooth, it's just slower, but nice gait. But with this horse, the lower his head, the trottier he's going to get. So we got to keep his head up a little bit. So if you don't want to ride with the horse's head up and you've got a trotty horse, and again, it's different between the walking horse and the rocky and the fox, how high you want their head. You just want it high enough you're getting the right gait. And if you got to bring it really high to get that, and you don't want to do that, then again, that's the wrong horse for you. Unless you don't want to gait. I don't mind, but you got to get used to it, and I've been doing this for a lot of years. But all my horses, you know, hunter, jumper, dressage, their heads were down. Now, if you got a young horse and you want to walk real slow and not getting its energy out, then it might be spooky or doing stuff because it's got more energy than a lot of the older horses. The older horses are like, oh God, she's going to ride us for 3 hours. Young horses like, she's going to ride me for 3 hours. That's fantastic. I'm a little hyper. So get their energy out and then they'll be better. And prepare them, lunge them around, pin them, run them around, get all that energy out. Okay? So again, I really don't think this is a fast walk. He's flat walking, but he has a short stride. So if I was with a walking horse, they would probably just be doing a regular walk and not flat walking. So I like to move out. Now Shane likes to move out because I've been riding him like this. If you have a horse like this and then you're trying to make it go slow all the time and you just pull on it, you don't give it jobs, you just keep pulling on it, pulling on it, pulling on it, the horse is going to get annoyed. It's really going to start throwing its head and having issues. So same thing when you're trying them, see what speed they like to go and what they're used to. If you want to go really slow, don't buy a really fast forward horse. If you want to go really fast and forward, don't buy a really slow, pokey, lazy horse. Okay? They are who they are. You can change some things, but you can't make them totally opposite of what they're not. Unless you want to keep getting after them all the time. Okay? And most people want to go forward. They don't want to sit there smacking their horse and giving it leg the entire time. So just know that. But if they're forward, they're not going to go real slow and they might not be real calm. And if they're, lazy and slow, well, they of course will be duller and probably not react to as many things. But then when your friends are going really fast, your horse might not want to keep up, or it might be too lazy to do it. I'm going to graze him just like I grazed Zorro. Until we're ready, dude. And then we're going to walk back up the hill, and we'll do some work once we get back there. So that's about it on Rockies. You know, just know more about them, how they move. It's good to see them loose so you can see if they just gait or trot or pace or what they do. Now you're going to have to ride them different than if you had, Shane's like, I'm leaving, quarter horses or a different breed. But that's the fun of it, is learning new things. And they are calm, but make sure they're trained. And make sure the seller's going to help you and show you how to gait them. And overall, they're awesome horses. And for that thing hanging down and smacking him the whole ride, he did very well. Because I didn't know that happened. Okay, this is like a booking strap. Sorry, Shane, but good job. And just know how fast they're riding them. If you want a slow horse, get a slow horse. If you want a fast horse, get a fast horse. You know, if you're going to ride the trail out and back, see how they do on that. If they're horrible, you know, then they need work. Doesn't mean they're a bad horse. If you're going to ride loops, it's much easier. You know, if you're going to ride alone, test them. Make sure there's video of them going alone, because otherwise the seller might really not have taken them alone. Okay? Everybody says it's fine until you get the horse, and then I hear so many stories of people buying horses and they try and call the sellers, and wow, they don't answer the phone anymore, or they disconnect their phone. So be careful out there. All right.